I challenged myself to beat Pokemon HeartGold using Gold's team from the Pokemon Adventures manga. After completing Nuzlocks of Red and Blue's teams, deathless mind you, I thought it would be fitting to take on the next protagonist of the series. Will I be able to complete this run without anyone dying? No. The answer's no. Look at Gold's team. You suck, you're meh, and you guys are okay. Now look at Lance's team. So let's play a game called Who Will Die? This is gonna be fun. Better than Green's team, I guess. Or Yellow's. Ugh. Oh, also, out of all the Pokemon Gold's caught, I can't use Pichu without breeding, and Teddiursa is a SoulSilver exclusive. Everyone else is eligible though. As usual, I'll be playing with standard Nuzlocke rules. Let's get started with our first adventure through Johto. This time, our adventure starts in New Bark Town. I name myself Gold and officially start our Pokemon journey. Professor Elm needs our help next door, so I head on over to check it out. It turns out he needs our help to retrieve something from Mr. Pokemon, who is 2 routes away. It's not all bad though, as Elm gives us a Cyndaquil to navigate through the tall grass. In the manga, things were a little different. Gold was playing billiards at night when his radio signal went out. He went to investigate and found youngster Joey outside his house. It turns out, he was delivering Pokemon to Professor Elm when a wild Murkrow stole his bag and hid at the top of a tall tree. Gold did one of his signature billiard trick shots and shot a Pokeball up into a tree, sending out Apom to defeat the Murkrow. Apom yanked Gold up with an impromptu pulley system, and Gold did another billiards trick shot with the Pokeball, catching the Murkrow and saving youngster Joey's bag. Gold decided to help Joey deliver the bag to Elm, but on the way there, a mysterious black tendril stole Gold's bag while they weren't paying attention. Wait, a mysterious black tendril? Could it be? When they got to the lab, Gold meets Silver face to face, who just stole a Totodile from Professor Elm. Gold tries to stop him, even doing another awesome trick shot to send out Apom behind Silver's Sneasel to catch him off guard.
We're doing perfect. Welcome to Water Bottle Flip Edition.
Man, Gold would do amazing in Hisui. In their scuffle, Gold borrows Cyndaquil to fight Silver, nicknaming him Expo for the explosive fire on his back. Silver managed to get away, but Expo and Gold stuck together, starting off their new friendship. Shout out to Gold's police sketch, by the way. That is spot on. In our adventures, I arrive at Mr. Pokemon's house and pick up the mystery egg. On the way back, we bump into Silver and take out his Totodile. Just like in the manga, Silver stole his starter from Elm, and we're able to provide a police sketch as well. I may have embellished some parts of the drawing, but the police accepted my statement and do absolutely nothing to catch him. Talk about realism. I make my way through the routes and arrive at Violet City. I'll be taking on Falkner with only my unevolved Expo, so this will be interesting. But before we can challenge him, we have to first clear through Sprout Tower. And unfortunately, I have some bad news. While clearing through the tower, Expo overlevels past a level cap of 13 and evolves into Quilava. I know XP managing can be difficult with only one Pokemon, but there were definitely some avoidable trainers that I could have skipped. Back to square one, I guess. I restart my adventure, get my partner Expo again, and catch up to where we were, avoiding all the optional trainer battles and taking out Elder Lee without overleveling. I also get Expo close to level 14 so we can level up during the fight for the extra stats. With everything out of the way, it's time to take on Falkner. Falkner leads with Pidgey, and I lead with Expo. Pidgey is a 2-shot with Ember, which lets him get off a sand attack. Luckily, our next Ember connects, which takes out Pidgey and gives us enough XP to level up. I know 1 or 2 stat points doesn't seem like much, but at our low levels, it can really change the tides of the battle. Falkner sends out Pidgeotto next, who retaliates with Tackle and Gust. Luckily, with our increased defenses, we're able to tank all the attacks and survive on 7 HP, taking out the Pidgeotto and winning us the battle. That's badge number 1. After the battle, Expo evolves into Quilava. I always liked Quilava's design as a middle stage Pokemon. It's a nice combination of Cyndaquil's flame on its butt and Typhlosion's flame on its neck. Too bad its stats are a copy-paste of Charmeleon's. The whole evolution line actually. Did you guys know that? No clue what Game Freak was doing there. Thought we wouldn't notice, huh? Now that we've defeated Falkner, we can get a few more encounters. First, I get the mystery egg from Professor Elm's aide to hatch our next team member, Togebo the Togepi. In the manga, Gold initially called Togebo Eggy, well, because he's an egg. Gold was famously an expert at hatching and raising Pokemon from eggs, but one night, while Gold was sleeping, a wild Gligar stole Togebo's egg. Gold was sound asleep, but his team sprung into action, chasing down the Gligar to rescue Togebo. In the scuffle, Gligar accidentally cracked the egg and Togebo popped out. He immediately defended himself, using Double Edge and Metronome to scare off the Gligar. Eventually, Togebo evolves into Togetic and Togekiss, which I plan to do as well in our playthrough. After Togebo hatches, Professor Elm immediately calls us and tells us to talk to him in his lab. I make the long and arduous trek back to Newbark Town for a Neverstone. Thanks, Elm. You know when your grandma's got Alzheimer's and she just gives you random stuff for your birthday? Like, here, happy birthday, I got you an egg. Someone should perform a wellness check on Elm for giving me this rock. The other encounter we can get is a Poliwag with the Old Rod. I always thought the Old Rod exclusively got Magikarp, but apparently there's a 15% to get a Poliwag here. I catch Polibo and add him to the team. In the manga, Polibo was one of the Pokemon that settled at Gold's house. When Gold's bag was stolen, Polibo's Pokeball was lost and ended up drifting away downstream. Gold found him and added him to the team, and he eventually evolved into Poliwhirl and then into Politoed. There's a really awesome parallel between Gold and Red through Polibo. Initially, he wanted to evolve into a Poliwrath, just like Poly from Red's team. However, while Gold and Silver were exploring the Tin Tower, the building collapsed with our hero still inside. Silver's Croconaw and Polibo tried to fill the area with water so they could swim up and escape, but Polibo just couldn't produce enough water as a Poliwag. He quickly evolved into Poliwhirl, and then into Politoed using a King's Rock, which gave them enough power to save the group. With all our encounters done, I defeat Team Rocket and Slowpoke well, and get ready to challenge Bugsy. I also walked around a bunch with Togebo to increase his friendship in order to evolve him into Togetic. The extra stats and the flying type resist will definitely help with Bugsy. With the team fully maxed out, it's time to take her on. Bugsy leads with Scyther, and I lead with Expo. We land a powerful Ember as Scyther only sets up a focus energy. While a critical hit can be scary, Scyther only has weak quick attacks and U-turn, which we resist. Eventually, Bugsy heals and I have to switch into Togebo. A Charm greatly reduces Scyther's damage, and a Yawn puts the Giant Mantis to sleep. Looking back, this wasn't the best strategy since Scyther's crit chance was boosted and a critical hit would bypass the attack drops. Luckily, Scyther didn't crit, and we're able to take her out with a few extra sensories. With Scyther out of the picture, her remaining Metapod and Kakuna were easily taken care of too. That's badge number 2. With Bugsy defeated, we now have access to Cut, so I easily take out Silver and rescue the 2 Farfetch'd in Ilex Forest. By the way, do you guys know the theory that HMs were originally supposed to be like ride Pokemon all the way back in Gen 1? Farfetch would have been for Cut, Lapras for Surf, Diglett for Dig, and so on. I think it's a pretty interesting theory. The strongest piece of evidence for me is Mr. Mime for Flash, since you get the HM for Flash from Professor Oak's aid right next to the guy who trades you Mr. Mime. Either way, it's pretty fun to think about. Further into Ilex Forest, I meet the Headbutt guy who teaches us how to headbutt trees for new encounters. With this, we can get our next team member, Abo the Apom. First, I went to Azalea Town, but this Apom ate up every single Pokeball we threw at him.
What's the best way to become stupid again?
I don't know.
To scream, I want to be monkey again!
Luckily, there's another encounter on Route 33, so I catch Abo and add him to the team. In the manga, Abo lived at Gold's house before his Pokemon journey even started. He was the one who took out Murkrow in the first panels of the manga. Eventually, Abo evolved into Apom, which we will be doing too once Abo learns Double Hit. The manga also gave us this awesome panel of Super Monkey Ball Apom when Gold was cheating at billiards. So cute. With all our encounters done, I head through the routes and arrive at Goldenrod City. On the way there, we stop by the daycare and get Lyra's phone number. Before challenging Whitney, I head north to the national park to get another encounter, Sunbow the Sunkern. I'm pretty disappointed that we have to use Sunflora in this playthrough. Look at its base stats. Truly one of the Pokemon of all time. In the manga, Gold caught Sunkern after seeing how it could jump up and down. He realized that he could put Expo's Pokeball on Sunkern to launch him high up to reach a Skarmory in the sky. Later on in their adventures, while fighting the Masked Man, Sunbow evolves under the direct sunlight and powers up a sunny day, allowing Expo to fire off powerful fire-type attacks to win the battle. That's all the encounters we can get before Whitney, so I work on training up the team. I don't have access to a Sunstone for Sunbow or a Shiny Stone for Togebo yet, so they'll remain unevolved for this fight. I'll be honest, I'm very nervous for Whitney's Miltank. I'm fully prepared to wipe if my strat doesn't work out. Whitney leads with Clefairy, and I lead with Abo. We immediately start the battle with our strategy and lower Clefairy's accuracy with Sand Attack. Clefairy uses Metronome and pulls Perish Song. Okay, this definitely cut our strategy short. I immediately switch into X-Bow as Clefairy only uses Double Slap. I use this opportunity to switch around to Togebow and Sunbow to get everyone a free level up from Clefairy going down, but Whitney's AI understands Perish Song and switches into Miltank while I have Sunbow out. Now we're forced to improvise. Miltank fires off a powerful Stomp and we set up a Leech Seed. Another Stomp will definitely knock out Sunbow, so I switch into the tanky Togebow to absorb the attack. Miltank's next Stomp manages to flinch us, but Leech Seed recovery is keeping us healthy. On the next attack, we dodge the flinch and get off a charm, drastically lowering Miltank's attack. The next 3 stomps barely do any damage, and although we get flinched 3 times in a row, we end up healing more than Whitney's damage from the Leech Seed. Whitney heals, and out of desperation, she tries to set up one of her infamous rollout sweeps. But at this point, with all the charms we've set up, she's never going to get enough momentum to take us out. Clefairy comes back after Miltank goes down, so I use a charm before switching out to Abo to go for Sand Attack strats again. Clefairy uses Metronome and somehow pulls Perish Song again. Whitney's team really doesn't want to win, huh? After messing around for a few turns, Clefairy goes down to its own Perish Song, winning us a 3rd gym badge. Not yet. Now we get the badge, after Whitney's done being a baby.
Oh, okay, so now you two aren't babies, but are you a baby? Are you a baby?
No.
Well,
You didn't give me the badge.
That's badge number 3. With Whitney defeated, we can get access to the Squirt Bottle, which lets us get our next encounter, Sudobo the Sudowoodo. In the manga, Gold was racing around Goldenrod against Whitney when the 2 racers encountered a giant tree that neither could get to budge. Wait, is Sudowoodo canonically supposed to be this big? That is terrifying. After a while, Polybow's water gun got the Sudowoodo to move, but in the commotion, a wild Rhydon charged at them and carried Whitney away. In the end, Gold caught the Sudowoodo, used him to defeat the wild Rhydon, and rescued Whitney. I'm not too thrilled about using Sudowoodo cause this guy sucks. I looked into his move pool and I realized I really needed to start farming heart scales throughout our adventure because his type coverage is kinda bad. I'll have to do that for Togekiss too if I actually want to use useful moves like Air Slash and Aura Sphere. But with Sudowoodo caught, our main team is finally together. At this point, I can access Ekritique City for the next badge, but before we can do that, we have to find Morty in the Burned Tower. We find him exploring the ruins with Yucine, along with Silver for some reason. He challenges us to a battle, which gives us a good opportunity to test out our new team member. Silver leads with Ghastly, and I lead with X-Bow. Flame Wheel's a 2-shot, but Ghastly only wastes a turn using Mean Look. We easily take him out, and Silver sends out Croconaw next. I switch into Togebow while Croconaw only spams Scary Face. I tried to encore him into using Scary Face, but he switches to Ice Fang, so I'm forced to switch back into X-Bow. We get off 3 smoke screens as Croconaw is locked into Ice Fang. We switch back into Togebow to lower his accuracy with Charm as Croconaw misses its attacks. With Roost to keep us healthy, we can pivot to Sudobo for his first major battle. A Rock Throw does poor damage, but a second Rock Throw crits and takes Croconaw out. Silver's follow-up Zubat goes down to a single Rock Throw, and his Magnemite goes down to X-Bow's Flame Wheel, winning us the battle. Before taking on Morty, we need to take care of a few things with the team. First, I level up everyone to the level cap of 25. In that time, Polybow evolves into Poliwhirl. I want to evolve Sunbow into Sunflora, but unfortunately, it's difficult to get a Sunstone at this point. I can get one by winning first place in the bug catching contest, but that requires that I catch a Pokemon there, which defeats the purpose of a Nuzlocke. You can get a Sunstone from the Pokeathlon Dome, but that requires you to get the National Dex first. I still go there to check it out, and look! There's a random Sunstone on the ground. Someone must have dropped it. I use it to evolve Sunbow, and with that, our team is fully maxed out. Let's challenge Morty. Morty leads with Ghastly, and I lead with Togebow. By the way, you see the whole team shaking there? That means defeating Ghastly will let them level up. Super cool feature that they had for this game. Anyway, I switch into Abo as Ghastly fails a Spite. A single Shadow Claw is enough to take him out. Pretty convenient that the TM for Shadow Claw is right outside of Ekritique, huh? Haunter comes out next, but it's a clean one-shot too. Morty gets desperate and sends out his ace Gengar, but little does he know, Gengar can easily be cheesed with the normal type Pokemon with a status move. Gengar's 2 attacking moves are Shadow Ball, which doesn't affect us, and Sucker Punch, which fails if we're using a status move. So, in theory, we only need to spam Sand Attack until Gengar runs out of Sucker Punch's 5 PP. It doesn't matter if we're trapped with Mean Look or get put to sleep with Hypnosis. And that's exactly what happens. Abo swiftly takes out the Gengar, and Morty's follow-up Haunter too. That was super easy, huh? That's badge number 4. Before heading any further, I helped the Kimono girls and grabbed the HM for Surf. This will be an amazing move for Polybo, especially when he's a Polytoad. With our newly acquired Surf, we can go past Olivine City and explore Cianwood City. On the way there, we can get another encounter, Teebo the Mantine. In the manga, Teebo rescued Gold when he, Silver, and Crystal were adrift at sea and attacked by Lugia. Boosted by a swarm of Remoraid, Teebo could swim at great speeds to pull Gold out from the ocean and help in the battle against the rampaging Lugia. I'd like to bring Teebo on the team, but I also want to keep the main team together. Since we're taking on Chuck next, I decided that since Sudoba will have a terrible matchup, he'll sit this one out for Teebo to get a chance to shine. I level up the team to the level cap and get ready to challenge Chuck. Chuck leads with Primeape, and I lead with Teebo. Primeape uses Leer, and Teebo uses Wing Attack, which does just under half. Primeape then goes for Rock Slide, and with our defense lowered from Leer, it does heavy damage. Unfortunately, Teebo flinches, so I'm forced to switch into Polybo to take another Rock Slide. A single Surf is enough to take Primeape out, which brings out Chuck's Poliwrath. Poliwrath tries to go for a Focus Punch, but we stop his attack with a Body Slam, which also gets a lucky Paralysis. Poliwrath tries again, but we go for another Body Slam to stop him. Eventually, he switches to Hypnosis, which now puts us at risk to a powerful Focus Punch. I switch into Sunbow, who barely tanks the attack. A powerful Stab Mega Drain is enough to heal back a lot of our HP as Poliwrath gets paralyzed. Another Mega Drain takes him out, which wins us the battle. That's badge number 5. I know the next gym leader people usually face is Jasmine, but the next gym leader in order of level caps is Price, so we head over to Mahogany Town. But in order to fight him, we need to first clear through the Lake of Rage as well as the Rocket headquarters. In that time, Abel learns Double Hit and evolves into Ambipom. I also backtrack to Slowpoke Well to get the King's Rock to evolve Polybo into Polytoad. With our team maxed out, it's time to take on Price. Price leads with Seal, and I lead with Sunbow. Shout out to Price, the Ice-type gym leader, who uses a pure Water-type Seal. No Jinx or Delibird or Lapras or Sneasel. I mean, the man loves Seals, what can I say? Seal only sets up Hail, and Sunbow easily takes him out with a single Mega Drain. Dugong comes out next, who retaliates with a super effective Aurora Beam. Mega Drain does huge damage, but I switch it to Sudoba to play around a potential critical hit. Dugong decides to go for Rest instead, so it would have been an easy KO with Mega Drain if we stayed in. A single low kick is enough to take him out, which brings out Price's last Pokemon, his ace Piloswine. I stay in to get some damage with Rock Slide, but Piloswine does too much damage with Mud Bomb, and Rock Slide also misses. I switch into Polybo, who dodges the incoming Mud Bomb and one-shots the Piloswine with Surf, winning us the battle and our 6th gym badge. Before we do anything else, the next level cap is only one level above Price, that being Jasmine at level 35. So, I make my way back to Olivine City to deliver the secret potion to Amphi so we can take her on. Jasmine leads with Magnemite, and I lead with Expo. A flamethrower from the Goldenrod Game Corner easily one-shots him, which brings out Steelix. Steelix is running Rock Throw, so I play it safe and switch into Sunbow to set up a Leech Seed. An Iron Tail does roughly half, but after a Mega Drain, we're sitting very comfortably. Another Iron Tail brings us a red HP, but the Leech Seed and Mega Drain recovery is keeping us healthy. I know Jasmine will heal, so I stay in and continue to slowly whittle away at Steelix's high HP. Eventually, Sunbow is able to take out the giant Land Snake, with the help of a few misses with Iron Tail. Her second Magnemite comes out next, but Expo easily cleans up, winning us a 7th gym badge. With Jasmine defeated, that unlocks our next encounters. Even though we have all our main team members, plus Teebo, I wanted to catch a few more Pokemon for completion's sake. First, I head back to Cianwood City to head to the Safari Zone. That's where the infamous Onyx and Cloyster couple is, by the way. Hope I wasn't interrupting anything. In the Safari Zone, I catch a Murkrow in the Swamp Biome, the same Murkrow from the beginning of the video when youngster Joey's bag was stolen. Wow, full circle. Gold never uses him in battle, but I catch him anyway and name him Murbo. Yeah, Murbo. Awesome nickname, Gold. Also, on the way back from the Safari Zone, I catch a Chinchou. In the manga, while looking for Polybo, Gold caught a bunch of Chinchou to prevent them from electrocuting him. I won't be using him, but I wanted to catch him for completion. I will name you Chinbo. Yeah, Chinbo. Welcome, Chinbo. Before we can challenge Claire and collect our final badge, we have to clear through a disturbance at Goldenrod City. First, we get some Team Rocket drip in order to sneak into the radio tower undetected. This part of the story is so cool. I'm kinda sad that you can only dress as a rocket grunt for this short section. While clearing through the tower, Expo evolves into Typhlosion. With the tower secured, we can unlock Team Rocket's secret base in the underground. But before we can go further, we're challenged again by our rival Silver. Sudobo takes out Golbat, Polybo takes out Feraligatr, Magnemite, and Haunter, and Expo takes out Sneasel. Not a difficult fight at all. With all the rocket grunts cleared, we can rescue the director and finish off Archer. Archer successfully put out a message to search for Giovanni, but obviously that didn't work. Archer was like, "Why do chips get stale?" And Giovanni heard that and was like, Dog don't care. By the way, the fight against Archer was so easy. Polybo swept through all 3 of his Pokemon. At this point, the Rage Candy Bar guy finally goes home so we can head to Blackthorn City. Maybe he thought the Team Rocket message was for him. Either way, this opens up the next route, which lets us get our final encounter, a Remoraid. In the manga, Gold caught a bunch of Remoraid to boost T-Bow's flying and surfing. Using Water Gun, Remoraid could redirect T-Bow and also target enemies while airborne. I'll only be catching one, and I name her Remobo. Probably the most normal nickname out of everyone here. Shout out to Murbo and Chinbo. Man, if I could catch Ho-Oh, I could call him Hobo. What a missed opportunity. With all our encounters done, we make our way through Ice Path, pick up the horribly placed HM for Waterfall, and arrive at Blackthorn City. I take out the gym trainers to level up the team to the level cap and get ready to challenge Claire. In this time, I head back to the Pokeathlon Dome and oh wow, a random shiny stone on the ground. It's my lucky day. I use the shiny stone to evolve Togebo into Togekiss, and with the team maxed out, it's time to take out Claire. Claire leads with Gyarados, and I lead with Sudobo. Gyarados fires off a Dragon Rage, and we retaliate with a powerful Rock Slide. I know Claire will probably heal at this range, so I decide to go for another Rock Slide. Gyarados is in the red again, and I wasn't sure if Claire had 2 potions, so I figured I'd tank a Dragon Rage and go for a Rock Slide instead of a Sucker Punch. Gyarados goes down, and Claire immediately sends out her Ace Kingdra, so I switch into Polybo. We tank a Dragon Pulse and get hit with a Smoke Screen, but Polybo still connects with an Ice Beam, and even gets a 10% freeze. Kingdra stays frozen, and a few more Ice Beams easily takes out her Ace. Dragonair comes out next, but she outspeeds and paralyzes us before we can get an attack off. With the paralysis and the smoke screen from earlier, we miss our next 2 Ice Beams and are forced to switch. I guess all our luck ran out with that freeze earlier. I send out Togebo and oh yeah. We're not a fairy type yet, so we have to tank a soft Dragon Pulse. I go for a Serene Grace boosted Headbutt, but we don't get the 60% flinch and instead get paralyzed by a Thunder Wave. Now we can outspeed for our flinch strats, but I still go for a Headbutt for the damage. Dragonair does go for another Dragon Pulse, and Togebo gets paralyzed. Twice, actually. Our luck is literally negative. Eventually, we manage to get a few roosts in and take out the Dragonair with Headbutts. Claire sends out her last Pokemon, another Dragonair. Eventually, our luck runs out and we switch into Abo, who tanks a Dragon Pulse and takes out the Dragonair with a Strength, winning us our 8th gym badge. Well, technically she refuses to give it to us, but we do all the Dragon's Cave stuff and get the badge as usual. That's badge number 8. Before we can head to the Elite Four, we first have to take care of the Ho-Oh storyline. I backtrack to Ecruteak City and take out all the Kimono Girls before climbing Bell Tower to challenge Ho-Oh. With our powerful Master Ball, this battle shouldn't be too difficult. Oh, Sudobo's got it. The Kimono Girls weren't too happy about that. If that is what you believe, we will not try to convince you otherwise. Yeah, okay, whatever, bro. I ain't reading all that. Happy for you, or sorry that happened, or whatever. With Ho-Oh taken care of, it's finally time to take our first steps into Kanto and make our way to the Elite Four. But while heading through Victory Road, Silver stops us while our team is barely hanging on. He leads with Sneasel, and I'm forced to send out Abo, who's only at half HP. But in reality, all this battle shows is a terrible gap of levels in the game. At a 12 level advantage, a super effective U-turn cleanly one-shots Sneasel. Expo takes out Magneton, Abo takes out Feraligatr, Polybo takes out Golbat and Haunter, and Togebo takes out Kadabra. That was definitely one of the most one-sided battles ever. And with that, we finally made it to the Pokemon League. Before we go any further, I prepare the team for our upcoming challenge. With all our heart scales we've collected from smashing rocks throughout our adventure, I teach the team their best moves from the move tutor in Blackthorn City. I also pick up a few items from the Goldenrod department store. Here's a quick rundown of the team. Polybo is an all-out special attacker with choice specs, Abo is a fast pivoter with U-turn and Silt Scarf plus stab boosted returns, Expo is a charcoal boosted nuke with flamethrower and blast burn, Sudobo is a well-rounded physical attacker, Sunbow is a bulky Leech Seed plus Protect Staller, and Togebo is a fast air slash flincher with its Serene Grace. Let's do this. First up is Will. He leads with Xatu, and I lead with Polibo. Xatu steals our attack with me first, but luckily it's only an Ice Beam, which we easily resist. Xatu, however, can't handle our attack, and goes down to a single Ice Beam. Jinx comes out next, so I switch into Expo. We get hit with a decent Psychic, but Expo tanks it and retaliates with a Flamethrower, taking her out. Will sends out Slowbro next, so I switch into Sunbow as Slowbro only sets up Curse. Eventually, we take out the Slowbro with the Petal Dance, but now we're locked in as Will sends out his second Xatu. He does a lot of damage with Aerial Ace, but even our resisted Petal Dances are doing pretty good damage. Eventually, our dance ends, so I quickly switch into Sudobo to take out the Xatu with a Sucker Punch. Will's last Pokemon is Exeggutor, so I send out Togebo, who cleanly one-shots the giant tree with an Air Slash. That's 1 down, 3 to go. Next up is Koga, who I guess got a promotion from his gym leader role. Congrats, man! He leads with Ariados, and I lead with Togebo. An Air Slash easily takes him out, which brings out Koga's Fortress. All he manages to do is set up a layer of Toxic Spikes, but we abuse his low special defense to take him out too. Muck comes out next, so I switch into Sudobo, who gets poisoned by the Toxic Spikes. Muck sets up 2 minimizes, but we attack through the evasion and one-shot him. Next is Venomoth, but a single Rock Slide takes him out too. Finally is his Ace Crobat, but a single Rock Slide takes him out as well, winning us a second Elite Four battle. Speaking of second Elite Four members, next up is Bruno. Nice to see another familiar face. Bruno leads with Hitmontop, and I lead with Togebo. With our Choice Scarf, we easily outspeed Hitmontop and... oh, he has Quick Attack. It's okay, we tank it and take him out with an Air Slash. Next up is Hitmonchan. Now we can finally enact our plan and outspeed to one-shot him with an Air Slash. Bruno sends out Onix next, so I switch into Polibo as Onix misses a Rock Slide. Polibo then outspeeds and lands a 4-time super effective Surf, which easily one-shots the Land Snake. Bruno sends out Machamp, but we stay in and continue to fire off powerful Surfs. Machamp can tank it though, and dishes back a huge amount of damage with the critical hit Cross Chop. That was close, but we outspeed on the next turn and take out the Machamp with another Surf. Bruno sends out his final team member, his Hitmonlee, so I switch into Togebo to outspeed and take him out with an Air Slash, winning us a third Elite Four battle. Last up is Karen. She leads with Umbreon, so I lead with Sunbow. I know that Umbreon will be really bulky, so I decided to go for my Leech Seed and Protect strats. With a few Sludge Bombs in between, we managed to outstall the Umbreon and win the 1v1. In the process, a Sludge Bomb manages to poison Umbreon, and her Synchronize sinks the poison onto us. By the time Murkrow comes out, I have to switch into Expo to take out the Crow with a boosted Flamethrower. This brings out Houndoom, who manages to dodge our Focus Blast while she sets up a nasty plot. I wonder what she's plotting, maybe plans to like and subscribe to my channel. That would be quite devilish. Regardless, the next Focus Blast connects, which cleanly one-shots Houndoom. Gengar comes out next, who almost gets one-shot by a Flamethrower. She only goes for Spite, which I guess did something? I lost 4 PP, I really don't know how I can continue on with this battle. To save some Flamethrower PP, we switch to Hidden Power Psychic, which takes out the Gengar. Karen sends a Vileplume, and I end the battle with a bang, one-shotting her with the boosted Blast Burn, winning us the final Elite Four battle. Finally, it's time to take on the Dragon Master himself. Lance was by our side throughout our adventure, so it'll be interesting to actually take him on. I'm a little intimidated, especially after seeing him brutally murder a man with his Dragonite's Hyper Beam. As I mentioned in the intro, it'll be a tough battle. I fully expect to lose some of our team members, but let's hope for the best. Lance leads with his Gyarados, and I lead with Togebo. Our flinch strats immediately work as Togebo flinches Gyarados twice in a row. Lance heals, and we continue to fire off powerful Air Slashes. Eventually, Lance realizes it's pointless and switches to Aerodactyl to tank the attack. I switch into Sudobo as Aerodactyl only misses a Rock Slide. The next one connects though, as ours misses. On the next turn, his Rock Slide misses while ours lands, taking Aerodactyl out. That was an odd flip-flop of attacks. Gyarados comes back out, but I know that none of my Pokemon deal with him well. He's running Ice Fang, so I can't switch Sunbow or Togebo in as easily. I ran the damage calcs, and I know that we live a waterfall as long as Gyarados doesn't crit. Sudobo stays in, plants himself like the real tree that he is, and... we tank the attack. We also dodge the flinch, which lets us retaliate with the Rock Slide, taking out the Leviathan. Dragonite comes out next, and this is where the real battle begins. No one can withstand the strength of Dragonite's Stab Dragon Rush. Even Togebo will go down to a few Dragon Rushes if we're not lucky with the flinches. I don't have many options here, so some sacrifices will be needed for a ragtag team of misfits to take on some of the most powerful Pokemon from Kanto. First, I switch into Sunbow, arguably my weakest team member. Sunbow knows what's coming, and she's not going down without a fight. Dragonite's first Dragon Rush connects, dealing heavy damage. On the next turn, we land a Leech Seed while Sunbow dodges the second Dragon Rush. With the Leech Seed set up, Sunbow can permanently help her friends even when she's off the field. A quick Protect can get us a little more HP as we sap another notch off Dragonite's gargantuan health. With our own clock running out, we switch into Sudobo as Dragonite misses another Dragon Rush. Now, we've got our back against the wall. With no more switches and no more stalling with Protect, there's only one way out. Sudobo stares Dragonite in the eye as he fires off a Sucker Punch, outspeeding with the priority, but Dragonite stares back, connecting with a powerful Thunder and taking out our first team member. It's a shame that Sudobo can never make his dream come true and eventually become truly Wudo in the Paldea region, but I hope that he enjoyed our short time together in our adventures through Johto. Rest easy, my friend. Togebo comes out, and after Sunbow's Leech Seed and Sudobo's Sucker Punch, we can outspeed and take out the Dragonite with a single Air Slash. Lance sends out another Dragonite, but this time he avoids the flinch and paralyzes us, effectively ending our flinch strats. A follow-up Blizzard does heavy damage, but we manage to attack through the paralysis and connect with another Air Slash, taking out Dragonite. You see why I didn't switch into Togebo earlier? There was just absolutely no way we could solo both Dragonites, especially when Lance still has his Ace Dragonite left. And this Dragonite has Outrage. There's no way anyone can tank an Outrage, let alone two Outrages when he inevitably outspeeds the next turn. Togebo looks back at our team and nods. If we're gonna make it to Red and have even a fighting chance, someone will have to make a sacrifice for the team. Sunbow nods back and steps up, knowing exactly what will happen when she comes out of her Pokeball. She stares directly at Dragonite as he fires off an Outrage, completely obliterating Sunbow's remaining HP. Although she wasn't the most powerful Pokemon, she certainly made her impact on the team throughout our adventures. I hope somewhere, Sudobo and Sunbow can share a warm grassy meadow, our big tree and our big sunflower enjoying the beautiful nature together. With Sunbow's sacrifice, we're able to safely bring in Polibow. I ran the calcs earlier, and I know that we can tank an Outrage as long as we don't get crit. Our entire plan hinges on this. Both our team members' sacrifices depend on this. Dragonite uses Outrage, and Polibow tanks it. We fire back with the 4-time super effective Ice Beam, one-shotting him and taking out Lance's final dragon. Well, almost final. Lance sends out his final Pokemon, his Charizard. I switch into Expo to chip away at his HP with the Flamethrower, but his Air Slashes prove to be too powerful. I swap out into Abo, who tanks a Dragon Claw, and we finish him off with a return, winning us the champion battle and the run. And with that, our run does not come to an end. With Kanto unlocked, we have a new challenge of 8 more gyms before us. This section isn't too difficult. I add Teebo and Murbo to the team, and easily take out all the Kanto gym leaders. Oh, also, sometime in our journey, we got the Pokerus.
Coronavirus! Coronavirus! I'm telling you, it's real!
It'll help our EV training a little, but not too much at this point in the game. With all gym challenges cleared and the team leveled up to match Red's Ace Pikachu at level 88, we head through Mount Silver for our final battle. Our team is fully ready to take on this monstrous challenge, even prepared to sacrifice some people if needed. Red has a pretty balanced team, and with his levels in the 80s, it'll be a difficult challenge. I gave Murbo a Lax Incense to boost his evasion, and juiced up his speed so he could get off a fast attract, forgetting that all of Red's team are male Pokemon.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
Either way, he's here to revenge kill with Sucker Punch or sacrifice himself as needed. I made Teebo a bulky special defense tank with leftovers too. Everyone else is pretty much the same. Here's a quick preview of the team. Let's do this. I climb up Mount Silver and find our silent protagonist standing there. Red has only been a legend at this point, but we've managed to track him down and challenge him to a battle. Without returning a word, Red lowers his head and accepts, sending out Pikachu, and we send out Abo. With our max speed and full friendship, Abo outspeeds and fires off a stab, Silk Scarf boosted return, one-shotting Red's partner in crime. Red sends out Blastoise next, and we stay in and deal a huge chunk of damage with another return. Blastoise retaliates with a 100% accurate Blizzard, taking out about half our HP. I wasn't sure if Red heals at this range, so I opt to stay in and use another return, which pays off, taking out Blastoise. Snorlax is up next, and I know he's running Giga Impact. With no one to safely switch into, I know it's coming for our team. Murbo, as the newest member of the group, is ready to step up and give his life so we can win. But Abo knows what's coming as well. After all, he and Murbo go way back to when Gold first started his journey. We stay in, and land a critical hit return. Snorlax falls, and Abo lives to see another day. Red sends out Lapras next, and now Abo knows it's time. We deal a huge amount of damage with return, but Lapras retaliates with a blizzard, taking out our beloved monkey. I'll be honest, this one's definitely on me. I could have very safely selected U-turn and switched into Polibo to resist the blizzard. Maybe I wanted to preserve his health for Red's Charizard, but I'm not really sure. Why didn't I sacrifice Murbo? I don't know. I send out Polibo and take out the Lapras with a Focus Blast. Venusaur comes out next, so I switch into Expo to tank a Giga Drain. At our current HP range, an Eruption easily one-shots Venusaur, which brings out Red's final Pokemon, his Charizard. First, I switch into T-Bow to tank any special attack he might throw at us. We tank his Air Slash, as well as his follow-up Flare Blitz, and retaliate with the hard-hitting Surf. On the next turn, Red uses a full restore, and we deal a huge amount of damage with Surf again. The turn after that, however, T-Bow has had enough of these silly games. He gathers all of his energy together, for Sudobo, for Sunbow, and for Abo cause I'm an idiot, and lands a critical hit Surf, taking out the Charizard and winning us the battle. I challenged myself to beat Pokemon SoulSilver using Silver's team from the Pokemon Adventures manga. Okay, let's get one thing out of the way. Silver's team is pretty stacked. Yeah, he's got 3 water types, but come on. Compared to Gold's team, it's not even a competition. Even though his team's pretty goated, there's one tricky thing. Okay, here's a map of Johto. We get Feraligatr as a starter, but we won't get another encounter until after we beat Morty. Gyarados is in the Lake of Rage, Honchkro's in the Safari Zone, Kingdra's in Whirl Islands, Ursaring is right before Claire, and Weavile's in the post-game. So, I had to make a few creative changes, but I'm sure you guys will like it. As usual, standard Nuzlocke rules apply. Let's jump back into Johto and start our adventure as Silver. That's right, I modified the game to walk around the overworld as Silver. It took a bit to figure out DS modding, but huge shout out to Jason for the guidance. I also created a back sprite for Silver, but it didn't always work. You guys will see in a minute. And not only is our overworld sprite updated, but our rival is now Gold. I'll be honest, something's got a little messed up in the Switch. You guys will see that in a minute too. After your guys' feedback from my video playing as Blue, I used a universal Pokemon randomizer to change Gold's starter to Cyndaquil. Look at the starter selections. The options are Totodile and 2 Cyndaquils, so there's no way he could have a Chikorita, right? Yeah, I couldn't really fix this one. In the manga, Silver stole his Totodile from Professor Elm as Gold was getting Expo. Gold ended up defeating him, but Silver stuck with Totodile, eventually evolving him into Croconaw and then Feraligatr. I have to be honest, Feraligatr is such an underrated design. I know looking back, he's just a basic blue alligator, but he's a basic blue alligator that was done right. As a huge fan of the Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park, Feraligatr just hits it right for me, especially when you see him in some action shots from the manga. Super excited to use this beast. I name him Gary after the gharial alligators with their silly little snouts, and add him to the team. After taking Gold out, I head back to the lab, and the police officer asks me if I saw the person who stole Professor Elm's Pokemon. Bro was on the right track too. Whoever did it will come back to the site. Luckily, Lyra sticks up for us, saying that there was a red-haired boy looking into the building. Yeah, a red-haired boy. Not me. Nuh-uh. Nope. Of course, I play along and give him Gold's information instead, so the cops can work on tracking him down instead of me. With the police officer sent and our starter secured, it's time to get our second starter of the run, Sneasel. That's right, I moved Sneasel's encounter up as our second encounter to match more with the manga canon. In the manga, Sneasel was basically Silver's first Pokemon. He was given to Silver by his father Giovanni, and the two of them grew up together. Silver used him many times throughout their adventures, including stealing the Totodile from Professor Elm. Eventually, Sneasel evolves into Weavile after Green gives him a Razor Claw, which we will do as well. I name him Loki and add him to the team. Back in our adventures, we head through the routes and arrive at Violet City. Before we can take on Faulkner, we first have to clear through Sprout Tower and take out Elder Lee. On our way up, we bump into Gold as the Elder scolds him for not loving his Pokemon. Yeah, that's embarrassing. He teleports out of here as we take on the Elder. With 2 Pokemon on our team, we easily take him out without breaking a sweat. Definitely helps that Loki is level 11. After leveling up a bit more, it's time to take on Faulkner. Faulkner sends out Pidgey, and I send out Gary. Unfortunately for his Pidgey, a few bites are enough to take the bird out. That gives us enough XP to level up to level 14 as Faulkner sends out his ace Pidgeotto. We trade blows for a while, but I switch into Loki to give him some time to shine. A few screeches and quick attacks later, and Pidgeotto goes down, winning us our first gym badge. As soon as we leave the gym, Professor Elm calls us to give us a Pokemon egg. Normally, this egg hatches into Togabo the Togepi, but after running around for a little bit, the egg hatches into a Larvitar. That's right, I move Larvitar up in the encounter list so we don't have to wait all the way until the Safari Zone to get him. I name him Thamel and add him to the team. In the manga, Silver obtained Tyranitar when he was still a Pupitar. His first appearance in the manga was actually as a fully evolved Tyranitar against Gold's unevolved team of Misfits. He was easily tearing through Gold's entire team, taking out Abo, Sunbo, Exbo, Sudobo, and Polybo, until he was finally taken out by the all-powerful Togabo and his piercing Double Edge. Later on in their adventure, Silver recognized that he couldn't fully control Tyranitar and gave him back to Lance. By the way, if you guys want to see my playthrough of HeartGold using Gold's team, I've included a playlist of all my playthroughs at the end of the video. Feel free to check it out. Back in our adventures, we continue through the routes and arrive at Violet City. Team Rocket's up to some trouble in Slowpoke Well, so Kurt and I decide to run after them to save the poor Slowpoke. Shout out to Kurt, by the way, bro just threw himself down a well to save some Slowpoke. I'll just, take the ladder like a normal person. Yo, I think I saw Kurt in the Fire Red Leaf Green remakes. Isn't this him blocking our path? After defeating Team Rocket, I leveled up the team to get ready to challenge Bugsy. With the fully unevolved team, his Scyther can be a little scary, but I feel confident in our tight matchup as I send out Thamel. Scyther goes for a Focus Energy, but that's no match for a Stab Rock Slide. Yeah, I was pretty shocked too that Larvitar learns Rock Slide at level 14. With the biggest obstacle out of the way, Gary is free to take out his follow-up Metapod, and Loki takes out his Kakuna as well, winning us our second gym badge. After the battle, Gary evolves into Croconaw, just in time for us to take on Gold. Yeah, his sprite's got problems as he spins over to us, but Loki easily deals with his Ghastly and Zubat. Gold sends out Bayleaf next, who should be a Quilava. Bayleaf is actually a bigger problem for us, as none of our Pokemon can deal with him well. I start by setting up a Screech with Loki to lower his defense in case he sets up a Reflect, but Bayleaf goes for a Poison Powder instead. On the next turn, we fire off a powerful Feint Attack, as Bayleaf now sets up a Reflect. At this point, it's too late though, as we outspeed and take the Bayleaf out with another Feint Attack, winning us the battle. After taking out Gold, we make our way through Ilex Forest and arrive at Goldenrod City. Here, we can head to the radio tower to take part in a quiz for a radio card. Kurt the Pokeball creator uses apricots as ingredients? I'm not sure about that, but I know he loves using his back to break his fall when he jumps down Slowpoke wells. Aside from completing the quiz, we can also impress the babes with our trivia knowledge, as Whitney decides she wants to head back to her gym to take our challenge. I work on leveling up the team to our level cap and get ready to challenge her. Whitney leads with Clefairy, and I lead with Thamel. We start the battle with a Rock Slide, and Clefairy wastes a turn using Mimic to learn a Rock Slide. On the next turn, a second Rock Slide connects, taking her out. Whitney sends out Miltank next, who immediately sways us with an Attract. Luckily, Thamel holds strong and connects with the Rock Slide, but it doesn't do as much as I would have liked. We get off a Screech as Miltank goes for Flinch strats, and after another Screech, I switch into Gary as Miltank hits us with a Stomp. With the defense drop, a Bite does a lot of damage, but Miltank infatuates us again, immobilizing us for this turn. I switch back into Thamel as Miltank lands a critical hit Stomp, dealing a huge amount of damage. I'm forced to stay in and pray for Miltank not to crit, which pays off as we live with 7 HP. We return to Screech, further lowering Miltank's defense to set up for Loki coming in. As we switch in, Miltank uses Stomp, which is a 3-hit KO. Luckily, with all the defense drops, we're able to outspeed and take her out with a Feint Attack, winning us the battle and our third gym badge. Unfortunately, we can't get Whitney's number since we made her cry. It ain't easy out here in the Pokemon world. One minute you're charming the ladies with trivia, and the next minute they're calling you a meanie just for beating them in a Pokemon battle. To clear our heads, we take a walk through National Park, where we can also take a nice team photo with Cameron the photographer. This space should be for Whitney. I'm sure she would love a nice romantic walk in the park. But hey, it's not time to get hung up on girls. We've got to clear through Sudobo blocking the path and make our way to Ecruteak City. Before we take on Morty, I want to get one more encounter. On Route 38, I catch a 1% encounter, a Snubble named Snug. It took a long time to find him though, and in that time, I learned how diverse this route is. I always knew this route as the place to catch Magnemite, but there's also a 10% for a Farfetch'd, 4% for a Tauros, and a 5% for a Miltank. If I hadn't hunted for this 1% Snubble, I never would have known. In the manga, Silver traded his Horsey for Green Snubbull after they escaped the Masked Man. They eventually traded back, and Snubbull later evolved into a Granbull. To make the gameplay a little more diverse, I decided to trade with Green to use a Snubbull on our team for this short section. We'll eventually trade back, but for now, we can bring Snug with us to take on Morty. In order to challenge him though, we first have to clear through Burn Tower, where we get challenged by Gold again. His animations are still a little, yeah. But with the Swords Dance TM from the Goldenrod Game Corner, Loki can easily take out his Ghastly and Bayleaf as Gary takes care of his Zubat and Magnemite. Poor guy, look at him spin away after we defeat him. Anyway, we head downstairs and set the 3 legendary beasts loose onto Johto. By the way, do you guys think that Entei, Raikou, and Suicune are supposed to be Ho-Oh's reincarnations of Flareon, Jolteon, and Vaporeon? I'm 50-50 on this one, because there's a lot of hints that point in that direction, like connections with the Kimono Girls and their evolutions, but at the same time, there's nothing concrete. Also, in episode 6 of Pokemon Generations, they show a flashback of the 3 Pokemon that got trapped in the Burn Tower, and they look nothing like any known evolution. So, I don't know. I'll wait for MatPat to put out his theory. Oh, also, while clearing through the trainers, Snug evolved into Granbull. With the legendary beasts freed and the team leveled up, it's time to take on Morty. He leads with Ghastly and I send out Loki. We immediately outspeed and take out his lead with a Feint Attack, which causes Morty to panic and send out his Ace Gengar. His Gengar, however, tanks a Feint Attack and lives on 1 HP. He then promptly puts us to sleep with Hypnosis, so I switch into Gary to finish him off. Unfortunately, Shadow Ball does way too much damage, so I'm forced to switch into Snug. Okay, I was being kind of stupid here because I went for a Charm to go for the cheese strats. For those of you who don't know, if you have a normal type Pokemon with a status move, Morty's Gengar literally can't touch you. All you can do is spam Sucker Punch or put you to sleep with Hypnosis. So I went for a Charm predicting a Sucker Punch, wasting the turn as Gengar misses a Hypnosis. On the next turn, I misclick and use Headbutt as Gengar uses Sucker Punch, which even though Gengar is immune to Headbutt, still lets Sucker Punch land. Then, on the next turn, seeing how little damage Sucker Punch did, I finally go for a Bite, but Gengar outspeeds and puts us to sleep with another Hypnosis. Eventually, we wake up and take him out with the Bite, but that took a lot longer than we needed. Morty's follow-up Haunters were also easily taken out by Thamel, getting us the victory. That's badge number 4. With Morty defeated, that opens up a lot of Johto. Oh, also at this point, our back sprite started working. I spent a lot of time in Photoshop to make it look good, so I wanted to show it off. Anyway, I immediately head past Mahogany Town to the Lake of Rage where we can catch our next team member, Levi the Red Gyarados. In the manga, Silver's Gyarados was the leader of a group of wild Magikarp. These Magikarp were forced to evolve into Gyarados when Team Rocket messed with the radio tower, sending out radio waves that would force them to evolve. Gold dealt with the rampaging Gyarados from the ground, while Silver flew up on his Murkrow to isolate the source. He found the signal was coming from a red Gyarados, so the two of them defeated and caught him, causing the rest of the Gyarados to calm down and return home safely. With Levi added to the team, I head south past Olivine and arrive at Signwood City. Before we can challenge Chuck, I level up the team to the level cap. In that time, Gary evolves into Feraligatr and Thamel evolves into Pupitar. With everyone ready, it's time to take on Chuck. Chuck leads with Primeape and I lead with Gary. Primeape outspeeds and starts setting up Double Team, which lets us get off a powerful Surf. On the next turn, however, Chuck sees this coming and switches into his Poliwrath to absorb the attack. I switch into Snug, getting off an Intimidate to lower his attack, as Poliwrath only puts us to sleep with Hypnosis. Okay, a Focus Punch right there would have been pretty scary. I totally forgot that Granbull is still a normal type in these games. Now that we're asleep, I switch into Levi as Poliwrath now goes for a Focus Punch. But with a double Intimidate and the Flying type resist, we can easily tank it. At this point, we wall him pretty easily with our typing, which lets us weaken him with a few Dragon Rages. But Poliwrath puts us to sleep, so I switch into Snug to get off another Intimidate as we tank a Body Slam. On the next turn, we stay asleep as Poliwrath actually lands a Focus Punch, dealing a lot of damage. On the next turn, I immediately switch back into Levi for another Intimidate as Poliwrath barely does any damage with Focus Punch. I guess at this point, Chuck's AI realized that Surf was starting to do more damage than a -4 Body Slam, so I stay in to use Dragon Rage. But Levi stays asleep for 3 more turns, forcing me to switch into Gary as Poliwrath spams Surf and Body Slam. At this point, Chuck's AI sees that the strongest move he has against us is Focus Punch, so we stay in and continuously interrupt his focus with Cut. After a Hyper Potion, Poliwrath finally goes down, and Chuck sends out his Primeape again, who promptly falls to a Surf. That was kind of a pain to go through, but I sure am glad it's done. That's badge number 5. With Chuck defeated, it's time to head back to Mahogany Town and take out Price. His level cap is 1 level below Jasmine's, but in order to challenge him, we must first clear through Rocket headquarters. I guess no one recognizes us as Giovanni's son, because Lance teams up with us to take out Ariana. Look at us, 3 redheads, and a random rocket grunt. At our current level difference, however, yeah, it's not much of a fight. After taking out the Electrode and clearing out the rest of Rocket headquarters, I realize we can actually get another encounter. In the Safari Zone, I catch our next team member, Rigatoni the Murkrow. In the manga, Silver would fly around on Murkrow to get to hard-to-reach areas. The first time we see him in the manga was when he was flying Silver over the ruins of Ekruti. Later on, Silver evolved him into Honchkrow, which we will be doing as well. Now, with everyone leveled up, it's time to take on Price. Price leads with Seal, and I send out Gary. We outspeed and deal a decent chunk with Crunch as Seal only sets up a Hail. And since Seal isn't an Ice type yet, the Hail chip brings him down to the yellow, which lets Gary outspeed and take him out with another Crunch. Price sends out Piloswine next, who almost gets taken out by a Surf, but he just barely hangs on as he retaliates with a Mud Bomb. This drops our accuracy, and on the next turn, Gary misses a Surf as Piloswine hits us with another Mud Bomb. On the next turn, we're finally able to connect with the Surf, taking him out. Price sends out his last Pokemon, his Dugong. With our HP lowered, I switch into Snug as Dugong uses Aurora Beam. On the next turn, Dugong crits us with another Aurora Beam, bringing us to the yellow, but we crit back with a Headbutt, bringing Dugong to a sliver of HP. Price will always heal here, which gives us the opportunity to switch into Loki to set up a Swords Dance. With our attack doubled, 2 feint attacks are enough to take out the Dugong, winning us our 6th gym badge. With the Glacier badge acquired, we can now use Surf to reach Whirl Islands to get our next encounter, Queen the Horsey. In the manga, Silver traded Horsey to Green in exchange for a Snubbull. They later traded back, and Silver went on to evolve her into a Seadra and then into Kingdra, which we'll be doing too. And now that we've got our Horsey, it's time to trade Snug back to Green to make room on our party for Queen. Before we can take on Jasmine, we first clear through the lighthouse to bring the secret potion to Amphi. In that time, Queen evolved into Seadra. With the team leveled up and Amphi feeling better, it's time to challenge Jasmine. Jasmine leads with Magnemite, and I lead with Thamel. We start the battle with a Dig, dodging the Magnemite Supersonic and one-shotting him on the next turn. Jasmine gets scared and immediately sends out her Ace Steelix, so I switch into Queen for her debut battle as Steelix wastes a turn setting up Sandstorm. But with Steelix's horrible special defense, even with the Sandstorm boost, we can easily one-shot her with a Surf. Jasmine sends out her final Magnemite, so I switch back into Thamel to finish the battle how we started it, taking her out with another Dig. That's badge number 7. At this point, it's time for more story as we return to Goldenrod City to deal with Team Rocket. We head down to the basement to pick up our Team Rocket disguise and, we look awfully familiar, huh? Where'd our iconic red hair go? We head back upstairs to retake the radio tower, but get stopped by Gold as he spins in and ruins our disguise. With our level difference, we easily take out the Team Rocket grunt, which leaves Gold so confused that he spins out of here. The rest of Radio Tower is pretty simple too, all thanks to our level difference. With the tower cleared, we can take the battle to their underground hideout and clear through all the trainers. Gold spins in to battle us again, but we easily defeat him, grab the keycard, and head up to the observation deck of the radio tower. Archer's up here sending a signal to Giovanni, but I don't know if he knows this, but we've got the nepotism blood flowing through us, with Giovanni being our father and all. We easily take out his Houndour and Houndoom with Gary, and finish the battle with Thamel. At this point, Team Rocket is officially disbanded, and we can make our way towards Blackthorn City. But also, enough in-game time has passed for Baoba, the Safari Zone Warden, to let us unlock new environments for more encounters. We fly back to the Safari Zone, where we can catch a Rhyhorn named Lionel. If you saw my Blue video, you might remember that I decided to use Scyther as my Safari Zone encounter instead of Rhydon. Well, in the manga, Blue gave his Rhydon to Silver to replace his Ursaring. Since he was traded with a Protector, he immediately evolved into a Rhyperior. We can't get a Protector until after we beat all the Kanto gym leaders, so let's see if we still want to use him on our team then. Now that we can access Blackthorn City, we make our way through the routes for our final encounter, Tekken the Teddiursa. In the manga, Silver and Gold were both trying to catch a Mother Ursaring and her Teddiursa. They started fighting with each other and ended up getting cornered at the edge of a cliff. Silver's Heavy Ball was lost in the scuffle, and Gold only had his weaker Friend Ball. Using one of his signature billiard trick shots, Gold ricocheted a Friend Ball around to knock Silver's Heavy Ball back to him, and our two heroes used their Pokeballs to catch the Ursaring and the Teddiursa, saving the day. Back in our adventures, I level up the team to get ready to challenge Claire. In that time, Tekken evolves into Ursaring, and I also head back to the Pokeathlon Dome to pick up a dropped, totally legit Duskstone. With this, we can evolve Rigatoni into Honchkrow so he can finally see some action in the main battles. With the team maxed out, it's time to take on the final gym leader and her team of dragon types. Claire leads with Gyarados, and I send out Levi for the mirror matchup. Prior to the battle, I taught Levi Thunderbolt, and it's a clean 2-shot. Claire's Gyarados can only use Dragon Rage, which gets us a pretty simple knockout. Claire sends out Dragonair next, who gets outsped and flinched by an Ice Fang. On the next turn, another Ice Fang takes her out, and Claire sends in another Dragonair.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
This Dragonair manages to paralyze us, however, and after a Dragon Pulse, we're forced to switch out into Gary. Another Ice Fang later, and Dragonair goes down. Last up is Claire's ace, her Kingdra. We stay in and use another Ice Fang, which gets the flinch on the first turn. On the next turn, we use another Ice Fang, but Kingdra dodges the flinch and gets off a smoke screen, lowering our accuracy. On the following turn, we stay in and use Crunch while Kingdra goes for another smoke screen. A few crunches later, and Kingdra finally goes down. We totally risked losing Gary to a critical hit Hyper Beam, but as usual, we leave unpunished as we head to the Dragon's Den to pick up our 8th and final gym badge. With all badges obtained, it's finally time to head over to the Elite Four. Unfortunately, I lost the footage when I first set foot into Kanto because, okay. I use OBS to record, and the start streaming and start recording buttons are right on top of each other. Usually I'm pretty good about this, but this time I accidentally pressed start streaming and lost all that footage. In that time, I cleared through Victory Road and arrived at the Pokemon League. I also picked up the Dragon Scale to evolve Queen into Kingdra, and I also, obtained a Razor Claw to evolve Loki into Weavile. With everything ready, we head into the Pokemon League to take on the Elite Four. First up is Will. He leads with Xatu, and I lead with Loki. I use the first turn to set up a Swords Dance, while Xatu uses Confuse Ray, which could be scary. Fortunately, I came prepared with the Persim Berry, letting Loki shake off the confusion and take out the Xatu with the Night Slash on the following turn. Then, one by one, each member of Will's team gets outsped and taken out by a stab, super effective Night Slash. That's 1 down, 3 to go. Next up is Koga. He leads with Ariados, and I lead with Levi to start the battle with an Intimidate. We start setting up Dragon Dances as his Ariados just wastes the first turn going for a Spider Web, then dealing minimal damage with a Poison Jab on the next turn. One Aqua Tail later, and Ariados goes down. Koga sends out Forretress next, who tries to stall a turn with Protect, but Levi easily takes him out on the following turn. Next is Muck, who also goes down to a single Aqua Tail. Crobat and Venomoth too. What can I say? With the +2 attack and a Mystic Water, we're pretty much unstoppable. That's 2 down, 2 to go. Third is Bruno. He leads with Hitmontop, and I lead with Levi to start the battle with another Intimidate. We start setting up Dragon Dances as Hitmontop tries to use Counter. Okay, we really need to be careful and make sure that we can one-shot him before he returns our attack with Counter. On the next few turns, we continue to use Dragon Dance as Hitmontop keeps desperately trying to use Counter. Finally, after maxing out our Dragon Dances, we can take out the Hitmontop with the Strength. If he had a Focus Sash and continued using Counter, he probably could have taken out our Levi. But luckily, the AI isn't good at building sets. Now that we're +6 attack and +6 speed, I had some fun and took out the rest of Bruno's team with Strength. His Onix took 2 hits, which let him set up a Sandstorm, but everyone got outsped and went down easily, winning us a pretty simple third battle. Last up is Karen. She leads with Umbreon, and I lead with Gary. Umbreon can be a tanky nightmare, but we outspeed and land a critical hit Waterfall, taking him out. Karen sends out Vileplume next, so we stay in and deal a huge chunk of damage with Ice Fang. Vileplume tanks it though, and retaliates with the Stun Spore. Now that we're paralyzed, Vileplume outspeeds and does a lot of damage with the Petal Blizzard, but we tank it and return with an Ice Fang, taking her out. Karen sends out Gengar next, so I immediately switch into Rigatoni to tank a Shadow Ball. Gengar decides to waste a turn going for a Spite instead, so on the next turn, we outspeed and fly up in the air as Gengar misses a Focus Blast. One fly barely takes Gengar out, which gives her the opportunity to retaliate with another Spite. There goes 4 PP, but after Karen heals, we didn't even need Fly as Rigatoni one-shots Gengar with a Night Slash. Karen sends out her final Pokemon, her Houndoom. We outspeed and take to the skies with Fly, but Houndoom uses this opportunity to set up a nasty plot. On the next turn, we connect with Fly, bringing Houndoom in the red as she connects with a boosted Flamethrower, nearly taking out our Rigatoni. I immediately switch into Queen to quad resist the Flamethrower, then take her out with a Choice Specs boosted Surf. Karen sends out Murkrow last, so we continue to use our Choice Specs boosted Surf, one-shotting the poor bird and winning us the final Elite Four battle. Now, it's finally time to take on the Dragon Master himself. Lance has been by our side throughout our journey, but I'm starting to feel like he's getting suspicious that we kind of look like that infamous mob boss Giovanni. Either way, he accepts our challenge, sending out Gyarados as we send out Rigatoni. Gyarados immediately cuts our attack with Intimidate, so we fish for a crit with Night Slash. We're out of luck, and Gyarados does way too much damage with an Ice Fang, so we're forced to switch into Gary to resist his attacks. A few crunches later, and Gyarados is in the yellow, but we're pretty low HP too. I switch into Queen to tank the waterfall, then take him out with a Choice Specs boosted Dragon Pulse. Lance sends out Dragonite next, but we outspeed and one-shot him with a Dragon Pulse. His follow-up Dragonite comes out next, who meets the same fate. His third Dragonite is one level higher, so I was a little nervous. But with the stab and the Choice Specs, he gets one shot as well. Lance sends out Charizard next, so I switch into Levy to take him out with an Aqua Tail. Lance's final Pokemon is his Aerodactyl, and to avoid getting outsped and one-shot with a Thunderfang, I switch into Tekken so he can have some time to shine. I feel bad for dragging him along and never using him for any of the major battles, so he can have a chance to prove himself. Aerodactyl deals a huge chunk of damage with Rock Slide, and Tekken dodges a flinch, retaliating with an Avalanche and taking Aerodactyl out, winning us the battle. And with that, the Johto League is defeated and Kanto opens up. There's not much to report on for Kanto. Since I didn't use Tekken as much, I cleared through basically all of Kanto with him behind me. We got to see Blue again, and it was nice to see all the familiar faces on his team. I did a playthrough with his team previously, so it was nice to see Eggy, Amber, Dazel, and Kite one more time. He also took his Rhydon back and caught himself a Gyarados, which was cool to see. Finally, with all of Kanto cleared through, I level up the team and climb Mount Silver to challenge Red. His team can be pretty tough, but with all the heavy hitters on our team, I'm fairly confident in our chances of winning. Without saying a word, Red lowers his head and sends out Pikachu, as we send out Loki. We immediately outspeed and one-shot him with a Night Slash. Charizard comes out next, and fearing a Fire-type attack, I switch into Queen for the Quad Resist. Charizard goes for a Flare Blitz, dealing almost no damage. On the following turn, we're able to take him out with a Choice Specs boosted Surf. Red sends out Venusaur next, and since we're locked into Surf, I switch into Rigatoni to tank the Grass-type attack. Venusaur ends up going for a Sludge Bomb, healing about half after the hail. On the next turn, we fly up and dodge another Sludge Bomb before taking him out with a Fly. This brings out Red's Lapras, and fearing a 100% accurate Blizzard, I switch into Tekken to tank the attack. Since Tekken has the Guts ability, I pre-burned him on a Wild Magmar to get the Guts plus Facade boost, one-shotting the Lapras. We're holding leftovers from the Wild Snorlax to offset the burn, but Red sends out Blastoise next, so I'm forced to switch into Gary on the incoming Blizzard. We go for a Crunch, which luckily gets a defense drop, as Blastoise lands a Focus Blast, taking out a large chunk of our HP. On the next turn, we go for another Crunch, bringing him in the red, but Blastoise lands another Focus Punch, bringing us to the red. I know Red will heal at this range, so we stay in and use another Crunch before switching out to Levy to resist the Focus Blast. We go for a tried and true Dragon Dance setup, but Blastoise's Blizzard does too much damage. On the next turn, we can outspeed and take out Blastoise with a Strength. Red sends out his final Pokemon, his Snorlax. With the +1 attack and the Mystic Water, I'm confident that Aqua Tail can take him out. After all, it hasn't failed us in the past, right? I stay in, and Snorlax lives with a tiny sliver of health. That's gotta be 1 HP, right? Straight up invisible Focus Sash. Snorlax then retaliates with a Crunch, but Levy tanks it. Red gets a defense drop, but it's too late at this point, as the hail takes Snorlax out, winning us the battle. A young girl and her smoochum are at the top of Mount Mortar, training endlessly by throwing Pokeballs at a painted target. This training is the only way Crystal can hone her skills to become the best Pokemon catcher in the world. It's tiresome work, but with Chumi by her side, the two of them continue to train until the sun begins to set. Suddenly, a loud roar echoes behind them, startling the two as a rogue Arcanine charges at them out of nowhere. In the panic, Crystal stumbles on the rocky surface and falls a great distance, landing on her arms and breaking them before her vision slowly fades black as she faints from exhaustion. This incident marks the start of Crystal's journey, a moment born out of an unfortunate situation, but these setbacks have never kept her down, no matter how severe they may be. As the third Dex holder from Johto, Crystal would become known as the Catcher, an expert in catching wild Pokemon to help out in Professor Elm's research. In this video, I'm going to be playing through Pokemon HeartGold using her team to see if she's got what it takes to become the Johto champion. After Yellow's team, I didn't think I could find a team with a worse lineup, but considering how much harder the base HeartGold is compared to Fire Red, I think Crystal may take the cake on this one. For starters, our starter is unfortunately gonna be a Chikorita named Megary. In the manga, Gold had gotten Cyndaquil and Silver had stolen Totodile, so Megary was left all by his lonesome self in Professor Elm's lab. Seeing an opportunity to join a team, he ran away to find Crystal in hopes of joining her team. Unfortunately, she already had a full team, but Megary's persistence and bravery eventually caused Crystal to have a change of heart, and she allowed him to join her team. In our adventures, I wasn't too thrilled to start with Chikorita, since Johto is a notoriously unfriendly region when it comes to grass types. The first gym is Flying type, and the second is Bug type, two generally weak types that happen to terrorize our little grass starter, but our Megary would end up proving to be a valuable and honestly underrated member of our team. I severely underestimated our little Sauropod, but with access to setup and healing moves, he's able to hold his own in this unfriendly region in many key battles. I know it's a controversial opinion, but I think Chikorita outranks Cyndaquil when it comes to Johto starters, and with Megary's help, I'll prove that to you throughout the video. Oh, and also, I did some stuff so Silver keeps his signature Totodile, so most of these rival battles are pretty easy. It was definitely a little funny to steamroll over these battles, especially that the newer games always give the rival the starter that's weak to yours. Now, in a normal journey, most of our team is locked behind the Surf HM, but after polling you guys and talking about it on stream, we decided that it would be best to make a few minor changes to still feature the team in all its glory. The first change we did was to the Growlithe encounter on Route 36. In the Crystal version, they added a little patch of grass here to make Growlithe obtainable before Falkner. When Game Freak designed the remakes, they based it off the original Johto map, so this patch of grass vanished. I had thought about doing this playthrough in Crystal, but the quality of life changes, the physical special split, having abilities like Intimidate, and honestly the following Pokemon were just too good to pass up. I mean, look at our Megary following us around, that is really too cute. So in order to work around this, I tried to add this grass back into the game, but unfortunately I just wasn't able to figure this out on the DS. On the Game Boy, it would have been a piece of cake, but I guess the DS modding scene hasn't quite caught up yet. I even reached out to the leading expert in Pokemon modding, JSON, for their expertise. Their videos were the reason why I was able to figure out the Silver sprite replacement, but we still couldn't figure out a solution. So, using an obscure glitch and totally not a walk through walls hack, we squeezed our way into a little gap between the trees to make our way through to the patch of grass on the other side of the Sudowoodo. Here, the Pokemon are at a higher level, but Growlithe can come at level 13, which happens to be exactly at Falkner's level cap. It's definitely a little scary with only our little Chikorita, since you can find Wild Nidoran, Stantler, and the worst of them all, Wild Pidgey. We're not that fast, so it can be difficult to run away, and we don't tank many attacks to begin with. Eventually though, we find our Growlithe and catch him, nicknaming him Arky. This Growlithe will eventually grow up to become the Arcanine that attacked Crystal in the intro, but how she added him to her team? I guess you'll have to keep watching to find out. First though, we gotta take on Falkner with our two team members. We lead with Megary and begin wearing down his Pidgey with Poison Powder and Tackles. Each time Pidgey lowered our accuracy, we would switch out to shake it off, so when Pidgeotto comes out, we're in good shape to take him on. My plan was to fish for burns with Ember, but after our first attack failed to burn, we're forced to tank a tackle in return. Falkner starts going for Roost, so we have more opportunities to get a burn, like on our very next attack. A few Embers are able to finish him off, which wins us our first gym battle. With our shiny new badge, Professor Elm trusts us to take care of the mystery egg, and this is where our next change comes into play. Instead of hatching into Togepo the Togepi, I changed the egg to hatch into another baby Pokemon, Chumi the Smoochum. Chumi was Crystal's very first Pokemon, so I'm glad we could get her early in our adventure. The only other way to get a Smoochum would be to catch two Jinx in Ice Path and breed them in the daycare, but that's way too complicated, and also, I don't ever want to think about Jinx breeding. Side note, I don't plan on evolving Smoochum since Chumi never evolved, the same way that I kept Pika as a Pikachu in my Red playthrough. That's all our encounters done, so we can make our way to Azalea Town for the next badge. The Team Rocket stuff is a breeze with our newly acquired Chumi, but Bugsy man, Bugsy's a completely different story. His Scyther is terrifying with Stab U-turn, and even though Megary's evolved into Bayleaf, we still are not tanking 2 U-turns. Arky also has Flash Fire instead of Intimidate, so it's just all around not looking good for our team. I had the bright idea to lead with Chumi, that way we can bait Scyther into using U-turn as we switch into Arky to resist the attack. My thinking was, Bugsy will be forced to send out Metapod or Kakuna, which we can easily take out with an Ember. This would give us enough XP to level up mid-fight, giving us a better chance to take on Scyther. But Scyther crits the U-turns, so that basically ends our plan. Still though, I didn't realize that we can only tank 3 U-turns anyways, so after 1 U-turn for Metapod and 1 U-turn for Kakuna, we would just die to his 3rd attack. I chalked that up to poor planning and having a limited team, so I ended stream that day with a plan to get Intimidate on Arky, as well as to think of a better strategy for the next attempt. Crystal opens her eyes, her arms still searing with pain, but something was different. In front of her stood a Parasect and a Cubone, who were watching her intently. She notices that her arms were hurting less now, so she tries to move them, but they were secured by a makeshift brace made out of bones and vines. Then, slowly, it dawned on her. These weren't just any old bones, they belonged to Cubone. And her miraculous arm recovery, that was due to the medicine from Parasect's spore to stop the pain. Crystal turns around, spotting a Hitmonchan and a Natu step out from behind the rocks, revealing that they had been on lookout duty. Crystal had never seen this kind of warmth from wild Pokemon before, but there they were, watching over her as she was unconscious. These Pokemon seemed injured, and Crystal realizes that they had fought off the Arcanine from earlier. They had found each other from this unfortunate circumstance, and now they were stuck here in this rocky clearing with a feral Arcanine on the loose. Suddenly, Natu's foresight alerts her of danger, and the group immediately got prepared as the Arcanine emerged behind them. He steps out into the clearing and bares his fangs against our injured group, ready to attack. Crystal takes a deep breath, unsure of how this will end, and unsure if they can even make it out of this situation alive. The next day, we booted up a new attempt and tried again. Now, I wish I could tell you that this attempt made it far, that we could come up with a miracle strategy to beat Bugsy, but I'm afraid that just isn't true. This attempt died to over-leveling due to careless speed up while grinding. I'm not proud of this one, but this failure marked the start of our own reset gauntlet. What do I mean by that? Let's run it back. Attempt 3. We make our way back to Violet City and get crit by a Pidgey while looking for Growlithe. Okay, attempt 4. We make it back to Violet City and die to another Pidgey while looking for Growlithe. Attempt 5. Die to another Pidgey while, you guessed it, looking for Growlithe. Attempt 6, we actually catch Growlithe this time, but he had Flash Fire instead of Intimidate. Reset. Attempt 7, finally we get an Intimidate Growlithe, so we can start making progress again. Falkner is pretty much the same story, but our Intimidate made it much easier to deal with Pidgeotto's quick attacks. Back to Azalea Town, but this time we've got some advanced strats. If we don't activate the Team Rocket trigger in Slowpoke well, then the rival battle doesn't occur yet. So by walking past Kurt's house, we can make our way to Ilex Forest to catch another team member, Parasy the Parasect. Since she's part grass type, she's also useless against Scyther's U-turns, but with her Effect Spore ability, maybe we can bait the Scyther to use Quick Attack to get a paralysis? We'd be gambling on a 30% chance for it to activate, but with our current team, I was desperately exploring all possible avenues. Another thing I thought of was getting the charcoal to power up our embers, but the Farfetch'd guys don't spawn in until we beat Silver. I decided that since we still had room for XP, we could take them out without the risk of overleveling. Chumi easily takes care of Ghastly and Zubat, and we do a little bit of pivoting so Arky switches in on an Intimidated Bite, which baits a super effective Water Gun as we switch into Megary for the resist. 2 Razor Leafs later, and the battle is won, letting us rescue the Farfetch'd to get our charcoal. Oh, real quick, I want to try something. Apparently YouTube's implemented a new feature where it detects when the video talks about subscribing, and it plays a little animation on the subscribe button. So make sure you guys are subscribed, it helps me a lot and lets me know that you're interested in these videos. Did that work? Subscribe. Hit subscribe. Well, hopefully one of them did. Alright, now it's time to run it back against Bugsy. And this time, we've got Intimidate, we've got the Charcoal, and we've got a new team member, even if she won't be too useful. He leads with Scyther, and we send out Arky this time. Scyther's AI will always go for Quick Attack over U-turn, so we're good to stay in and use our Charcoal boosted Embers. 2 Embers activates their Citrus Berry, and at this range, another Ember won't be able to take Scyther out. I had the bright idea to switch out to Paracy, maybe to get an Effect Spore, and then switch back into Arky for a double Intimidate. But I forgot that Scyther would just U-turn on Paracy, resetting our attack drops back to 0. At least we can take out the follow-up Metapod and get the level up, but after Scyther comes back out, an Ember puts her perfectly in Super Potion range, and soon after, Scyther manages to take out everyone on just a sliver of health. Well, technically, since we switched Arky out, we get another Intimidate drop which lets us live a Quick Attack, but judging by our team, it wouldn't make sense to continue the run like this. The stream and I did a little planning after, but it was tricky to figure out a way to crack this battle. I really didn't want to sacrifice Chumi at the second badge, and I felt certain that there was a way to beat this battle deathless, I just had to figure it out. We ended stream on that note, racking our brains and looking for a creative way out of this situation. Something didn't sit right with Crystal. As the other Pokemon began to square up to battle the wild Arcanine, Crystal took a second to reflect on her previous encounter. She thought about the Arcanine's behavior when they were being chased and suddenly realized that, throughout the entire chase, Arcanine was only running towards its left. His right eye seemed to be closed, and Crystal realizes that it must have been injured. She lifts up his thick fur to confirm that, yes, he did indeed have a deep cut under his right eye. She stops the battle, stepping in front of Arcanine and convincing everyone that Arcanine was injured and was only acting defensively out of instinct. The rest of the team seemed hesitant, but Parasect steps forward and uses some spore medicine that she had used for Crystal. And, like magic, Arcanine's wound immediately began healing. He seems a little puzzled at first, scratching at where his wound once was, but as soon as he realizes what happened, he gives Crystal and Parasect a big lick out of appreciation. They spend some time together as Arcanine and Crystal recovered, with Parasect tending to their wounds, Cubone replacing her arm brace, Hitmonchan being her arms while they were recovering, and Natu scouting the area to make sure they were safe. From this moment on, our group became good friends, almost like a found family, and everyone joined Crystal to travel the region on more adventures together as a team. Back in our Nuzlocke adventures, Attempt 8 was done off-stream, just so I could get the video out fast enough for you guys. My goal is to have at least a video every month, so expect one more for December. My other goal is to hit 10k before the end of the year, so if you haven't, make sure you subscribe so you can be a part of the under 10k club. Okay, back to the game. The early game is more or less the same, but going into Bugsy, I had to come up with a plan to let us beat his Scyther. Our level cap is 17, but at level 18, Megary learns Reflect, which will halve the damage of Scyther's physical moves. We lead with Arky against his Scyther, and Scyther goes for Quick Attack as expected, but we retaliate with Roar. My thinking was similar to the first attempt, but this time we use a switching move instead of gambling on Scyther to use U-turn. Kakuna gets dragged out, so I switch into Megary and Arky to let them both get the level up. We have to dodge the 30% poison from Poison Sting, but we get lucky and take out Kakuna with a single Ember. Megary learns Reflect, and Scyther comes back in. This is why I chose Roar instead of letting Scyther use U-turn, because on the next turn, Scyther wastes the turn using Focus Energy, which gives Megary the opportunity to come back in to whittle away at the incoming Metapod. It's a war of attrition as Metapod's Shed Skin cures his poison, Bugsy uses Super Potions, and we use Synthesis to stay healthy. Eventually though, right before Metapod goes down, we set up Reflect for the Scyther. I'm expecting a U-turn here, so we switch into Arky for the Intimidate. Even as she sets up Leer and Focus Energy, Quick Attacks just aren't doing enough damage as we're firing back with Charcoal boosted Embers. A few Embers later, and Scyther finally goes down, winning us a well-deserved and triumphant victory. With Bugsy defeated, we make our way through Ilex Forest, where Chumi helps the Kimono Girl find the exit directly next to her. That gives us this really cute cutscene of Chumi's little head showing her the way out. Now that we're at Goldenrod, I take some time to get the team ready to take on Whitney. This is what I mean when I say Chikorita is better than Cyndaquil, because what's Quilava gonna do for this battle? Flame Wheel? Die to roll out? Nah, with our Swords Dance TM from the game corner, Megary is able to set up on Clefairy before taking her out with the Razor Leaf, along with Whitney's follow-up Miltank. She dodges the first one, but we dodge the flinch from Stomp, as well as her infatuation with Attract, and take out the cow in 2 hits, winning us our 3rd gym badge. Time to make our way to Ecruteak, and on the way there, we make sure to grab Schoolboy Alan's phone number because he's the only way we can get a free Firestone. Unfortunately, Alan's no sucker. Either he's the most stubborn kid ever, or we've just got negative Riz. Man, I felt so stupid saying that. Come on, man, I feel so old hearing all these new words. Anyway, we clear through Sidobo blocking our path, aka just running away, and make our way to Ecruteak City. To prepare for Morty, I leveled up the team to the level cap, including evolving Parasect into Parasect. I thought about getting a Firestone from the Pokeathlon, but I want to delay Arcee's evolution for some important moves. Still, even though he's unevolved, we're able to take out his lead Ghastly with a Bite, which brings out his ace Gengar. We get trapped by a Mean Look, but we stay in and fire off charcoal-boosted flamethrowers. Gengar manages to land a Hypnosis, but we wake up and roast him with another flamethrower, which even gets the burn to take him out. Morty's follow-up Haunters go down as well, which wins us a fairly simple badge number 4. Okay, now that we've got Surf unlocked, we can finally get the rest of our team. First up, by surfing through Union Cave, we can make it to a secret area in the ruins of Alph to catch a Natu named Nati. He's gonna be our main source of aerial transportation, even though his stats and move pool kinda suck. Also, by doing all the lighthouse stuff, we can unlock the Safari Zone to catch another team member, Mimey the Mr. Mime. Now, Mr. Mime wasn't part of that intro scene, but she was caught later on in Crystal's journey. Crystal used her in the Emerald Arc to make giant barriers, similar like Sabrina in the Red and Blue Arc. Okay, I'm sure I'm not alone in saying this, but I hate Mr. Mime. Everything about the design, the colors, and just the overall vibe are awful. We'll be seeing lots of Mr. Mime in this playthrough just cause the rest of our team is complete garbage, so let's get used to this ugly face. Speaking of which, with our new Psychic team member, we're able to completely sweep through Chuck's team. We need to rely on Psybeam, but Primeape easily gets one-shot. Poliwrath manages to tank it, but can't take us out with a body slam, so we're able to land a second one, confusing him as he hits himself in confusion, which wins us a simple badge number 5. Now that we've got the HM for Fly, Nati flies us back to Ecruteak City so we can make our way to Mahogany Town. Mimey can one-shot the red Gyarados with Thunderbolt, which lets us access the Rocket headquarters. All this stuff is pretty simple since the Rocket Grunts are all way underleveled. Megary evolves into Meganium, but other than that, we're doing pretty well going into Price's battle. He leads with Seal, so it's the perfect time to set up Swords Dance with Megary. Icy Wind lowering our speed does suck, but it hardly does any damage. Then, Razor Leaf for the Seal, Razor Leaf for the Dugong, and Razor Leaf for the Piloswine wins us a simple badge number 6. Chikorita over Cyndaquil any day of the week, man, I'm telling you. Speaking of easy gym battles, it's time for Jasmine. Archie holding his charcoal can outspeed all 3 Pokemon and one-shot them with a flamethrower. I was half expecting Steelix to live, but the most she can use is Rock Throw. And with that, that's 7 badges down and 1 to go. Now we're at the point where Team Rocket takes over the Goldenrod radio tower, but the trainers here are so underleveled that it's not even funny. I want to highlight the battle against Silver in the Goldenrod tunnel since it's not every day we can see our Meganium take out his Feraligatr. I didn't know this, but if you started with Chikorita, your rival would still have Quilava in this battle because he wouldn't evolve into Typhlosion yet. He uses the fully evolved form for the other 2 starters, but if you started with Totodile, his team is at a slightly higher level and also gives slightly more money on defeat. I guess that's how Game Freak balanced their game, which is definitely super cool. The rest of the Rocket storyline is pretty easy, so after we clear through everyone, we can finally make our way to Blackthorn City. On the way there, I stop by Mount Mortar to battle the Karate King. Normally, this battle is locked behind Waterfall, but I wanted to have the full team before the final gym. So, using that obscure glitch from earlier and totally not a walk through walls hack, we made our way up the waterfall to battle the Karate King. And just like against Chuck, Mimi's able to take out his Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, which wins us a battle and lets us keep his Tyrogue. I name him Monlee, and we finally got the whole team together. Well, not quite. We have everyone who's fully evolved, but enough time has passed for Baoba, the Safari Zone Warden, to let us unlock new zones where we can get our actual last team member, Boney the Cubone. And yeah, this guy's name is Boney. I don't want to say that over and over again, and also, he never evolves into Marowak, so Boney, you can stay in the PC. A quick transition over to Ice Path, and we can make our way over to Blackthorn City. By the way, I'm never gonna get over how Ice Path was such a shoehorned in location. Like, it's so random that there's an icy cave here in between these two cities. Okay, the Claire battle is gonna be tough. I don't have a foolproof plan, just a general idea, but let's see if we can squeak out a victory. Claire leads with Gyarados, and I send out Mimi for the 4-time super effective Thunderbolt, which takes her out in one clean hit. This brings out Claire's Dragonair, but that's what we brought Monlee for, because we can tank her Dragon Pulse decently well and retaliate with an Elemental Punch, hitting her super effectively and nearly taking her out. We also get a lucky freeze, so Claire starts wasting turns healing with the Hyper Potion. The next Ice Punch takes her out, and Claire sends out Kingdra. She misses her first Hydro Pump, so we can land another Ice Punch, but seeing as she's going for a water move, we switch into Paraseed to absorb it with our Dry Skin ability. We can then tank a Dragon Pulse and set up a Spore, putting Kingdra to sleep and giving us turns to set up. But even at a +2 attack, look how bad the damage is for Bullet Seed. Okay, that first one was a crit, but man, these are doing almost no damage. Claire's AI actually switches out on the following turn, and her second Dragonair easily takes our Bullet Seed. We actually could have messed up big time because this Dragonair is the one that has Fire Blast. I should have known when the AI switched her in, but luckily she misses, which gives us the opportunity to switch out and live to see another day. Archie takes the Fire Blast and knocks her out with a few headbutts. Okay, now Kingdra comes back in, but the AI is always going to go for Hydro Pump against Archie, so that's an obvious switch back into Paraseed for the Dry Skin. Another Spore puts her to sleep, so now we can switch into Megary to start setting up Swords Dance. If Paraseed's attack output is that bad, at least Megary can redeem her a bit. At +4 attack, our Razor Leaf nearly takes Kingdra out, and after Claire heals again, 2 more Razor Leafs are able to break through her ace, winning us the 8th and final gym badge. Okay, time to knock out the Ho-Oh storyline stuff, but there's not too much to talk about. I just wanted to take some time to appreciate how beautiful the trees are in this section. Especially on the upscaled graphics here, even though the trees are just made of 2D planes, I think they add so much personality and vibrance to this little section. Anyway, we grab the Rainbow Wing, which, by the way, always made me think of those firecracker popsicles. You know, if you just flip it 180 degrees, it looks pretty tasty. That and those SpongeBob Ice Pops, man, we would just eat those every summer and never get tired of them. By the way, against Ho-Oh, we taught Monlee Rock Tomb and 2-shot him. The Kimono Girls were not happy at all, but hey, I never agree to anything. With everything in Johto done, we make our way to Kanto and arrive at the Indigo Plateau. We took some time to prepare the team, which includes finally evolving Archie after he learns Crunch. We also spent some time relearning any moves needed and using all our TMs. With one last look around us, we stepped into the Elite Four chambers, ready to take on the final gauntlet before us. First up against Will, I lead with Mimi against his lead Xatu. We start firing off Charge Beams, which has a whopping 70% chance to raise our special attack. We get the boost on the first one, and Xatu uses Confuse Ray. This could cause trouble, but we came prepared with a Persim Berry. Will always heals here, so we can continue stacking Charge Beams to boost our stats while taking him out. Then another Charge Beam for his second Xatu, which gets us another boost by the way, a Psychic for his Exeggutor, a Thunderbolt for his Jinx, and a final Thunderbolt for his Slowbro wins us a clean first battle. Not gonna lie, Mr. Mime definitely came in clutch there. Getting those back-to-back boosts and being able to one-shot the bulky Exeggutor with a resisted Psychic, that's genuinely insane. I know I talked a bunch of smack earlier, but Mimi is definitely pulling his weight on the team. Next up against Koga, we lead with Mimi again against his Ariados. We get the one-shot with Psychic, and Koga loves sending out Forretress next. This gives us the perfect opportunity to start setting up charge beams as Fortress sets up toxic spikes. We don't plan on switching out, so no harm at all. Then his follow-up Muck gets one-shot by a Psychic, his Crobat to another Psychic, and lastly his Venomoth to, you guessed it, a final Psychic, winning us a simple second Elite Four battle. Third up against Bruno, you want to guess who we lead with? No, it's not Mimey, it's Megary. I'm still Team Chikorita all the way, so let's prove ourselves against the Elite Four. His Hitmontop is the perfect Pokemon to set up our Swords Dance on, and after we're +6, we can first heal up with the Synthesis, but immediately after, we can one-shot him with a Razor Leaf. Then, one by one, we can take out his Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Machamp, and Onix with a single Razor Leaf each, winning us another simple Elite Four battle. Are you guys Team Chikorita yet, or do I still need to convince you? Last up against Karen, it's time for Monlee to have a chance to shine. We start firing off powerful Drain Punches against her lead Umbreon, hitting through the evasion and taking her out. Karen sends out Murkrow next, but an Ice Punch can easily deal with her. We have less options against Gengar, but I stay in and fish for a paralysis from Thunder Punch. Instead, we get a critical hit, so on the turn Karen heals, I use this opportunity to switch into Archie. One crunch later, and Gengar gets one shot. Houndoom comes out next, so I switch into Monlee for our fighting coverage. Houndoom sets up a nasty plot, but we outspeed and fire off a powerful Drain Punch, one-shotting her before she can use an attack. Last up is Vileplume, but an Ice Punch nearly takes her out. She hits us with a Stun Spore, so I play it safe and switch into Archie to take her out with a Flare Blitz on the next turn, winning us the battle and completing the Elite Four gauntlet. Only one challenge left, and that's the Dragon Master himself. His Dragonites pack quite the punch with Dragon Rush and Outrage, so let's see if we've got what it takes. Lance leads with Gyarados, and we lead with our star player Mimey. With the quad-effective Thunderbolt, we easily decimate the Leviathan, which brings out his Aerodactyl. But since Lance is basically a Flying Master, we can outspeed and get another clean one-shot with Thunderbolt. Charizard comes out next, and we go for another Thunderbolt, but he hangs on in the red. We get a lucky para, but Charizard retaliates with a Shadow Claw, dealing exactly half our HP. Lance then heals with the full restore, so we have an opportunity now to set up our charge beams. We do significantly less than a Thunderbolt, but since we get the +1 special attack boost, we can outspeed with another charge beam to take out the Charizard, which also gets us another boost. We are sitting really nicely at +2 when his Ace Dragonite comes out, so I felt confident to stay in and use a Twisted Spoon boosted Psychic. But Dragonite survives on 1 HP. This is only possible if Dragonite randomly got a plus special defense nature, so that definitely sucks. I'll be honest, when I saw the item animation, I was so scared that I had messed something up and Dragonite randomly got a Focus Sash. But no, it was just a Citrus Berry. Since we failed to take him out, Dragonite's able to use Outrage and completely obliterates our remaining HP. This one definitely stings. I was just getting warmed up to Mimey, especially after that amazing performance against the Elite Four. Rest in peace, you goofy clown. I'm glad you got the chance to show your worth on our journey. Honestly, I feel like he got robbed of his spotlight since Lance just happened to have the right nature. But hey, if it's not the random nature, then it'd probably just be a random crit or something. Randomness happens, and sometimes it can really set us back, but the best course of action is to keep moving forward. I continue the battle, sending out Archie to get an Intimidate drop, before taking Dragonite out with the Dragon Pulse, avenging our fallen partner. Against the second Dragonite, we continue going for Dragon Pulse, which does about half to his gargantuan HP, as Dragonite only goes for Thunder Wave. This will cut our speed, so on the next turn, Dragonite outspeeds with a Dragon Rush, but he misses the attack. Archie retaliates with the Dragon Pulse, just barely taking him out. Finally, we're facing Lance's final Dragonite, who actually manages to land a Dragon Rush, but we survive and fire back with a Dragon Pulse. We're gonna have to switch out after this because Dragonite's gonna outspeed and... oh dang, RNG's on our side now. We get the critical hit, taking him out and winning us the battle. Don't celebrate too early though, cause like all our other Johto runs, we've got one last secret boss fight. Since Mimey's no longer with us, I brought Boney on the team since he hasn't had a chance to shine yet. We get prepared at the Poké Center outside of Mount Silver, which is completely empty since hardly any trainers can survive in these harsh environments. The only people brave enough to make this great trek are Nurse Joy and Cameron the photographer? That's right, Cameron, definitely unexpected. We take a group photo together as our final moments before the big fight. Will this be the last time everyone's together? Let's find out. With everything ready, we head up the mountain and greet Red. He lowers his head and sends out Pikachu, and we lead with Boney. I figured we'd even the playing field a little bit, sending out our unevolved team member against his unevolved lead. Pikachu goes for an Iron Tail, but we tank it and fire back with an Earthquake, getting the clean one-shot. Red sends out Lapras, so that marks the end of Boney's contribution. We switch into Monly, who can tank a Brine pretty well. Then, on the next turn, we outspeed and use Close Combat, and at 120 base power, that's a simple one-shot. Red's next Pokemon is Charizard, and fearing an Air Slash, I switch into Arky, the only team member who can tank the attack. Charizard instead goes for Flare Blitz, and after the Intimidate drop, it barely does any damage. Then we can outspeed and go for Thunderfang, but Charizard hangs on and fires back with an Air Slash. Another Thunderfang takes him out, and now Arky's health is getting a little low. Blastoise comes out next, so we switch into Paracy to absorb his water attack with our Dry Skin. Red's AI goes for Focus Blast instead, which worked out for us since we resist the attack. However, Blastoise now threatens Blizzard, but we can tank it and put the turtle to sleep with Spore. And now that he's sleeping, we have the perfect opportunity to switch into Megary to set up Swords Dance. After one Swords Dance, Blastoise finally wakes up and uses Blizzard, but we can take him out with the Razor Leaf immediately after. Once Venusaur comes out, we need to switch out. I sent out Nati, our last healthy team member, to take his incoming Sludge Bomb. We fire off a Psychic, but it barely misses the kill. Venusaur's able to land his own Sleep Powder, and now we're in a little trouble. Even after the hail, Venusaur lives on 1 HP. Red always heals here, so I use this turn to switch into Monly. We threaten with Ice Punch, but we are sitting at half HP. An Ice Punch does like 80%, but we somehow land a lucky freeze. But Venusaur just thaws out on the next turn, as Red uses another full restore. Still though, our Ice Punches are keeping Venusaur in check, and before Venusaur can get off another Sludge Bomb, we were able to take him out. Red sends out his final Pokemon, his Snorlax, but there's no way he's living a stab close combat, right? And you are absolutely right. Snorlax goes down, winning us a deathless final battle against Red. And with that, I'm gonna end the video here. I appreciate you guys so much for sticking around, and I can't wait for the next manga character. Be sure to vote in the poll for who you'd like to see also. I'm gonna choose the winner for my next video, so your vote matters. Don't forget to subscribe, we're on our way to 10K. Until next time, this has been Magnus. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.